Da-da-da-da-da-da. Yes, hello. All right, so day 15 of this editing stream, and basically we have to go back over chapters 11 and 12. So if you already seen this one, this is a like a rerun on television right here. I just didn't think we did a great job editing them. Really not feeling it. And you know, I know I say this about every book, but this book is special. I think this book has legs. I think this book could go somewhere, and it's just not acceptable to me that we're going to have even one bad chapter in this book. So we're going to go back over it. By the time I push this guy out the door, I want it to be the absolute best possible book that I can put out. And you're not, you know, like writing, even editing is something that you can't force, right? You have to be enthusiastic about it, and you have to be giving it 100% every single time that you're out there, or it won't be good. Actual writing, like I could just blather about it, like what it takes to do that for hours. It's like a flow state, and you know, you have to be creative, but also restraining some of the wild shit that's going on. You know, it's like it's a racket. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, chapter 11, I feel, is in slightly better shape than chapter 12. Chapter 12 might need some advanced work, so we may be going through this like fairly quickly. To keep myself from being bored, I'm going to work on this like it's an audiobook. And yeah, I really should be recording more audiobooks, by the way. Maybe today I just won't play fucking video games all day and waste my life away and actually get to work on some of the things that are important to me. But I wouldn't bet on it. Whoa. All right, hold up. Let me see. Oh, yeah, Jewbird caught some of the intro. Shouts to Jewbird right there. Let's see. And then we got the restream chat flowing. All right, so everything should be good. So this is Lemon Maybe and the Electric Lady. Chapter 11. Gary the Fairy. 1.7, 9:43 a.m. Chelsea. The haggard face and bloodshot eyes make it hard to believe, but Sarah Shiner was once a tiny baby, born a month and a half premature. She got shortchanged in the room. She got shortchanged in the womb, did a month in the solitary confinement of an incubator. She got shortchanged in the womb and did a month in the solitary confinement of an incubator. Cold fluorescent light scoured inside of... yeah, that's not good. No, there's big logic. Yeah, I feel without logic and Spathywa beside my side, it's like I'm going into battle all on my own, unarmored and shit. So yeah, glad to see you there. Oh my god. I can never spell fluorescent. I'm almost there. It's like, no, it's still wrong. There we go. Help me, help me. Fluorescent. It says like crescent, but Fluo. Mm. Oh, so Hugh Board, Jewbird, his nickname is Hugh Board. That's Jewbird. If I'm ever accused of anti-Semitism, I'm gonna ask you to take the stand and just testify that I have Jewish friends. Would you do that solid for me there and be my token Jewish friend? I got a lot of them actually. Like in New York, it's unavoidable. Which then sounds like you want to avoid having Jewish. I'm never gonna be president, guys. It's just not gonna fucking happen. Almost died yesterday in a flaming car and motorcycle wreck. There, I'll tell the story on FNet News. But yeah, very, very close to dying. I would say within about a tenth of a second of I being like completely fucking immolated and dead. I was a little bit shaken yesterday. Oh, thank you. It's so nice that you would do that for me. All right, so let's. She got shortchanged in the womb and did a month in the solitary confinement of an incubator. Eyes that should have dreamt in warm darkness. Yeah, I like dreamt better. Eyes that should have dreamt, squinted in cold fluorescent light. Eyes that should have dreamt in warm darkness squinted against cold fluorescent light. Beeping machines and the feeble cries of the others rang in her ears instead of the 1-2 bass line of her mother's heartbeat. Maybe that's why I can't dance for shit. That we can't do that for a Oh yeah, if you got an important FNet news story, send them in. Yeah, like I think my FNet news is going to be like 5 minutes long. I have almost no news to report whatsoever. I think I've got a section that Lit Up sent in, and then I'm going to make up some stuff, and that's it. Like fucking nothing happening on FNet. Like no packeteers, no whatever. Like I got to build up a network of contacts the way that Vapor did, and we got to start at the beginning. Like all they just have to be like little jokey 5-minute episodes, and then we can build into being an actual news show. So I'm aware, and I like have to actually do the work today. I might do a weather report, so that'd be nice. But sending in a surf report, which is just me and my homies crushing claws with hobos down at the pier. Hell yeah. I hope you're keeping 6 feet away from those hobos while they're sucking your dick. But all right, so this changes. This is a much better. I don't know why we went through this the first time, and I couldn't see why this paragraph was wrong. Bong. The haggard face and bloodshot eyes make it hard to believe, but Sarah Shiner was once a tiny baby, born a month and a half premature. She got shortchanged in the womb and did a month in the solitary confinement of an incubator. Eyes that should have dreamt in warm darkness squinted against the cold fluorescent light. Beeping machines and the feeble cries of the other babies rang in her ears instead of the 1-2 bass line of her mother's heartbeat. I like that. Maybe that's why I can't dance for shit. Is it all down to that? Is she still carrying the weight for her stint at the special baby care unit 2.5 decades ago? And how, if so, do you ever set that burden down? How do you forgive the world for showing up early? Scratch that. The world was here already. She was early. Accidental baby, accidental birth. Sarah showed up and broke the whole world with her complications, and she's still fucking things up 25 years later. I like this line. I like this character, and we describe it a little later. She is doing the walk of shame home from Lemon's bar after drinking tequila all night, not electrocuting, but shocking the shit out of Lemon, breaking a bunch of glasses that she can't pay for, and also zapping the invisible kid while he tried to cop a feel off of her. So, Logic says that shortchanged is hyphenated shortchanged. That's, oh yeah, that's absolutely hyphenated. Okay, do we still have our document? Bam. That puts you up to a big, cool quarter century of points right there, Logic. Hell yeah. You gotta get, oh shit, Spathy was up at 58. But he's not here today, man. You can narrow the gap if you feel like it. It seems weird to me that baseline isn't, is detecting as, let's take a look at it. Baseline. Okay, yeah. Yeah, it's enough people. Today I'm a far right hyphenator. No, I think it's a good hyphen right there. Okay, cool. So hopefully that was the worst of that chapter right there. So Sarah's pity parade keeps marching as she tries to walk off some of her hangover. Ooh, I feel you there, Sarah. Her head throbs and her eyes squint against the morning glare. She managed to get out the back door at the pits, but she had to leave it unlocked. Ooh, yeah, that kind of like, she managed to get out the back door at the pits, but she, Sarah's a little worried some junky asshole will try the door and burglarize the place. But she couldn't stay. Oh, by the way, it's Mother's Day. Shout outs to any mothers out there. Don't forget to call your mother. I'm going to call mine later. Hopefully, do not forget. Hey, Siri. Set an alarm for 3 p.m. I've set an alarm for 3 p.m. All right. Thank you, Siri. Fucking robot. Hopefully that will, yeah, that would be bad. Should not forget to call. Honestly, I gotta tell you, the older I get, the less I ever remember to call anybody. And it might be I just don't like talking on the phone for most of the part, which is weird for somebody who has a late night call-in show and has for like 20 years. But yeah, I think at like early in the morning, when I wake up, I should call this person today and see how they are. And one of the things I'm noticing, and it may be linked to just drinking a lot of coffee while I'm editing and so forth, is like I'm very productive early in the morning. We get a bunch of shit done here. But like when the clock strikes noon, I just don't do fucking anything all day. And I'm not sure what it is. But that like window of productivity has been narrowing over time. I'm wondering if like just getting out and going for like a bicycle ride for like an hour or something might break up the days and like give me more time in which I mean, you don't have to be productive all fucking day long, but yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to escape this trap, but only productive in the middle of the night, like 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock. Otherwise, I'm a useless shitbag. I hear you, man. It's I felt like for a while I was expanding the window of time where I would do stuff like clean up my house and other things like that, and then it just like expands and contracts. And I don't like being on a fucking contraction cycle where I feel increasingly useless. whatever, you know, like I'm glad to be fucking alive. I really, really like. I'm not even fucking with you guys. Like within like a fraction of a second, I fucking dying. That just shook me. I had to call my friend afterward and just be like, "Yo, talk to me," because I'm fucking shook. But there ain't no such thing as halfway crooks. Sarah's a little worried some junky asshole will try the door and burglarize the place. But she couldn't stay there, couldn't face Lemon after last night. If someone does walk off with everything, well, that's too bad for Lemon. He shouldn't have locked her in. She shouldn't have drunk so much. Everything's wrong. Everything's fucked. Or everyone's wrong and everything's fucked. Everyone's wrong. Everything's fucked. Let's try this. Everyone is wrong. Everyone is wrong. Everything is fucked. Ooh, I like that a little better. Everyone's wrong. Everything's fucked. Everyone's wrong and everything is fucked. Everyone is wrong. Everything is fucked. Everyone is wrong and everything is fucked. I like it this way, like only use a comma for more than two things because it's more of a declaration. So, Joubert commas can also be used to separate independent clauses in compound sentences. Everyone is wrong, everything is fucked is a spot where we would use commas to separate two different things. Gotcha. All right. So we're going to use walk of shame here because essentially, like, I think one of the key parts of the Sarah character is that she feels ashamed of herself. It's really, really core, and you'll see it in a bunch of different spots here. And I think for this particular character, like, just the fact that she got way too drunk and is like staggering away. It sounds great as two completely let's take a look at that. Everyone is wrong. Everything is fucked. No. Everyone is wrong. Everything is fucked. You know, I have to agree with Logic that an editor will probably try to separate the two, but just in terms of the diction, the way that I want this to read, I prefer there not to be a full stop there. And the two clauses are related enough that they work for me as a compound sentence, but the editor that we worked with on Space Stars, for instance, he would not put up with that bullshit for a second. He would chop up that sentence. He was very... the guy does not like compound sentences. And I have to agree, for military science fiction, he's 100% on board. He's 100% in the right, is what I'm trying to say there. Cool. I like that a little bit better. A few blocks into her walk of shame, Sarah is desperately trying to forget herself and focus on anyone else. I want anyone, not everyone. A ragged man shuffles past her, muttering to himself. His eyes are rolling, actually rolling in his head, actually rolling as his head. No, this is not a... His eyes are rolling, actually rolling. Yeah. Oh, let's take out that. Let's just take out the actually rolling part. His eyes are rolling as his head bobs around and around in a circle. Sidewalk, storefront, sky, repeat. The circuit lands on Sarah and the hobo freezes up, surprised when she doesn't look away. So here we have a I almost never like to use M dash interjections, especially in narrative. Um, yeah, it's not a way that I like to. His eyes are rolling as his head bobs around and around in a circle. Sidewalk, storefront, sky, repeat. You know what this would be? Yeah, this just needs to be sidewalk, storefront, sky, repeat. Yeah, that's what we need. And in fact, you should be hyphenated, or not hyphenated, but you should be italicized. Sidewalk, storefront, sky, repeat. Ooh, that's what this cat is doing right there. Probably making that exact same noise. Yeah, like I'm not trying to diss these people either. Like there are a lot of malfunctioning human beings walking the streets of Manhattan, riding on every single subway, and it's part of being in the city. And yeah, it's a fucking honestly, like maybe they wouldn't be happy, but I feel like why aren't we like rounding these people up and bringing them out to a farm? Why are we like keeping them in this poisonous fucking urban environment that's completely deleterious? I guess people have like civil liberties, but yeah, I do think some fucking time outside would help a lot of these people, and it's just being trapped in this this sort of like rat maze of New York City that is fucking a lot of these people up. Like if you gave these guys a tent and a fucking field, I mean, yeah, that's a lot of land you would take up. But chow 3 times a day and walking around in nature. Although it wouldn't be nature for long, they would make a terrible mess of everything. You would need essentially like one person cleaning up after the malfunctioning person, like at a 1-to-1 ratio. Yeah, you can see why I'm not chair of the homelessness division right there. Yeah, you almost need to. They would have to essentially be prison camps to be viable, and it's not a. I mean, it's a crime to be a vagrant, I guess, but well, I'm glad we can see where this line of authoritarian thinking ended up. Anyhow, the circuit lands on Sarah, and the hobo freezes up, surprised when she doesn't look away. Yeah, and so we're going to use throughout this story, because bums are a big part of this book. We're going to use bum and hobo. We're not going to use fucking homeless outside of like a few situations and so forth. And if that hurts your feelings, get a fucking job. No, it's awful. No, but the story is told through the voice of Lemon, and that's how Lemon sees those people, because like Lemon was one of those people. And like I've been without a home like by choice, but I was a fucking hobo at the time, and I don't object to that characterization. So Logic wants the word repeat italicized there. Yeah, I guess yeah, it falls into like the cool. Yeah, I'll go with that. So I'm gonna give you a point. I had a bad dream, he mumbles. His eyes lock on Sarah's for a few uncomfortable seconds, then he shies away, back in his weird bobbing routine. Yeah, back on my weird bobbing routine shit. Hell yeah. I had a bad dream, he mumbles. The hobo's eyes lock on Sarah's for a few uncomfortable seconds, and then he shies away, back in his weird bobbing routine. He doesn't know Sarah can see his thoughts, rippling like bioluminescent algae in a turbulent sea. All right, so it's kind of a hokey description, but as soon as we say that this is a noir piece, we give ourselves a little bit of license to be hokey. I don't think that's too hokey. That was actually like on Reddit today, if I can post about bioluminescent algae. So hopefully most readers will know what the fuck I'm talking about. Sarah's never seen a thought pattern like this one before. Sparks are glinting in this poor man's brain without rhyme or reason, lighting up all the wrong places in his skull. In his skull is wrong. Lighting up all the wrong places. Key areas are almost completely dark. Other regions are working overtime. Key areas are almost completely dark, while other... Yeah, I see the missing R. Sparks are glinting in this poor man's brain without rhyme or reason, lighting up all the wrong places, comma. Also, rhyme or reason is cliche, but I like the way that it sounds there. Key areas are almost completely dark, while other spots are working overtime. Incandescent filaments of dendrite arc too hot, sending jumbled messages shimmering along dirty lines of worn-away myelin. Local trains. Like local trains that hit every terminal but their destination. The man is gone. Sarah begins to recognize a new pattern. The man is gone. Sarah puts a name on his pattern. Madness. Sarah has been learning how to read people by watching their thoughts glowing in their skulls. That's what got her thinking about her too short gestation. She hasn't had to, That's what got her thinking about her too short gestation. She hasn't had to struggle to understand people. Yeah, this is kind of a mouthful. That's what got her thinking about her too short gestation. Yeah, like, taxing mental muscle she hasn't used since she was an infant. Once upon a time, Sarah had to learn that Once upon a time, Sarah had to learn that if muscles around a mouth tensed a certain way, it meant the person was happy. Once upon a time, Sarah had to learn if the muscles around a mouth tense a certain way, it means happy. If they twist another, it means angry. It was maybe the first thing she ever learned. But there aren't 100 billion muscles in a grin. By the way, you have 100 billion neurons floating around in your skull right now. Yeah, like good attempt there, Logic, but denied because we split it up into two separate sentences. Gotcha. But there aren't but there aren't 100 billion muscles in a grin. A frown happens in 2 dimensions, not 3. In the short time she's been able to observe thoughts directly, Sarah has learned that each brain is different, with its own pattern of activity, its own favored spots. And favored hot spots. There are certain... She's noticed similarities among certain types of people. See, this is like, I really like the deep dive that we do on the Sarah Shiner character, right? Like this impossible action that she has of seeing electricity. And we don't like stop at like she can see fucking wires and walls and static charge forming around people and weird halos and stuff like that. I like that it gets down to like this neuromuscular activity in brains and so forth. This is completely impossible, right? There's no function that I can think of to make this happen. And this is where like this piece is no longer considered science fiction. This is purely fantasy. Like that's the level that we're operating on here. We're not trying to explain this stuff away with science. Math people, well, Logic, listen to this, read the rest of this paragraph because we get into that. Math and art people being basically the same time. I don't think that they're the same type of brains at all. I think from what I know about like math people and art people, they have like some similarities. But I think something very different is cooking in a lot of these brains. And there are people, you know, you talk about fucking brains, and there are no absolutes that you can make. There's so many exceptions to every single rule. But yeah, this is just her experience. It's not meant to like. There's no research behind this. It's just me making stuff up. She's noticed similarities among certain type of people. Yeah, I like this. She's noticed similarities among certain types of people, archetypes for math people and art people, lazy people and drug addicts. She finds herself judging people. She finds herself judging others before they ever open their mouths, and she's right more often than she's wrong. It also gets into like kind of an interesting and perilous territory where she's making prejudicial decisions about people based on like activity that she's seeing in their brains, like before that person even has a chance to speak. And she's a construction worker too. And I will tell you that it's very, very seldom will you find a construction worker who doesn't operate on, let's say, like a slightly elevated level of prejudice. I'm not trying to say like, yo, all construction workers are racist, but a lot of construction workers are relatively racist. And I think it definitely has something to do with like a lot of the way that they think is shaped by personal experiences. So yeah, like trying to untwist that one right there. But if you work with your hands all day long, a lot of your world is around like cause and effect, and trying to establish like if I do this thing, I'm gonna wang my hand with a hammer, so I gotta not do that thing. people who work as tradespeople have like a much closer relationship with like daily pain, and trying to avoid that daily pain than most people, I would say. So, I'm not trying to say, oh, it's great to be, racially prejudiced or whatever, but at the same time, like I can a little bit understand more why there's so much of that, and a lot of that is also going to be like the people that you're surrounding yourself with. Um, have like a lot of people who didn't complete high school, who maybe aren't the sharpest fucking tool in the shed there, and a lot of those people going to be highly racialized and so forth. And at the same time, as I'm saying that, like a lot of these guys are going to be put into environments where they're working with people from these races where they have like this strong prejudice and so forth. And like it turns out that those guys do like a lot of good work, and are, in exactly the same economic plight as they are. And they're kind of comrades. And so that proximity to these people will also make them question kind of the underlying structure. It's an interesting struggle, but that's a long way to go. If you hop on a construction site, you're going to hear like hard R's drop left and right. And it's just how it fucking is right there. And I think we get into it in this book itself. It's shaped a lot by my experiences working on construction sites, both as a like construction worker and as a consultant, like fixing computers and stuff like that. And when we get into some later scenes here, you'll see how like almost every exchange between men of a certain age is them like joking about how the other one is gay. Holy God. You get a guy who's in like his early 50s to late 60s right now. Every other joke out of their mouth is like, he's a fag, lol. And they do it all fucking, they never get tired of the shit. And these are dudes from an era where you couldn't just like pop out of the closet as a construction worker. And so there's like a lot of homoerotic tension happening around these offices, which is hilarious. And they get some good jokes too. They're fucking funny guys, man. But I digress. Anyhow. So yeah, I don't want you people out there who are watching all the like coarse racist language and the fucking stereotypes and shit like that are present in this writing. I don't want you to think that it's because I don't know any better. I know better. I've chosen this. So you can now identify the flares of activity that mean danger and the burns that mean desire. Sarah can identify the flares of activity that mean danger and the burns that mean desire. She can see the slow wash of alcohol seeping in and the spreading darkness of a deep pull on a cigarette. Stick that out. She's a long way from recognizing words, further still from it. She's a long way away from let's just cut it. Yeah, we need something about how. She's a long way off from actually. She's a long way off from being able to recognize what people are actually thinking. Yeah. Like this is fucking. What have I told y'all about books about mind reading? The same with strippers. Not racist by default, just closer to cause and effect. Yeah. Yeah, there's a bit of that, like flying around there. You know, it's not our purpose to like get too deep into why those people might have those prejudices, but those people definitely do have those prejudices. There are a lot of sex workers who are like, "Yo, I'm not hanging out with this race ever," which gets into like some shaky territory, which is fun to explain, but probably won't help us get this thing done right there. Whew. Let's just leave it at Dick's too big and move on. Fuck, man. I like reminds me of those t-shirt like reasons why I'm single, and it's got like too unattainable or too busy with work, and then like 3 is checked and it says dick too big might kill someone. uh never too far away for like a solid dick joke. She's nowhere near understanding what words people are thinking, or any but their most. Or anything but the most primal emotions. There we go. Yeah, that's better. Oh, you like that one too, Lon? I should fucking wear that shirt for just wear it into work on my first day back there. Hey, hey kids, how do you like this one? Dick too big might kill somebody. I fucking love it. God, I think in fucking middle school, everybody was wearing those Big Johnson t-shirts back in the day. Nothing like a dick joke. Except everything is like a dick joke when you really think about it. All right, there we go. It's all far too complicated for a high school drop. It's far too complicated for a high school dropout, but she has no choice. Every morning, Sarah wakes up deeper in the spectrum. Whoa! Shout outs to our Audi friends. She sees smaller and smaller charges with. She sees smaller and smaller charges with more contrast between them. It's jacking up the rent in her brain. Ordinary vision has been priced out of the hippest areas of her perception, pushed to the outskirts. Visible light has become a film of oil on the surface of a lake, and the charge is the deep part. Every day she can peer a little farther down. Let's look at this paragraph again. We're really kind of guilty of telling and not showing in this paragraph. But, oh shit, I just got some FNet news. Let's see. I got some FNet news from Jewbird about Red. And I actually have some news to report about Red myself, which is do not send me your fucking screenplay ideas after I tell you not to send them to me. I'm just making like a public statement on the show. If I tell you, in fact, even if I don't tell you not to send me your ideas, one, don't send me your ideas. I only write my own ideas. That's all I give a shit about. I don't even really read other people's books for the most part. I'm coming up with this shit all on my own. But I do not want your ideas for like novels or screenplays or whatever they're. Write them yourself. You know, like I nobody was gonna write these ideas for me. And like I don't want any like asshole down the road is like, oh, I sent you this idea and now you made this book that's like vaguely similar to it or whatever. It's like, yeah, I don't want any part of that. I'm not sharing any credit. I do not collaborate in writing at all. I don't play well with others in general, and I don't want any fucking part of that. So the best you're gonna get out of me, like I know that red means well and everything, but I don't want any part of that shit. Like if you have an idea, you need to be the one to write it, or hire some fucking guy on Fiverr to write a. Oh my god, is that going to be the future of this? Like people on Fiverr carving up that like write my autobiography, write my story of how my grandmother emigrated to Plutonia or whatever. Oh, God. She'll get to a point where she hardly even. Okay, so let's like she'll get to a point where she hardly even talks to everyone because she can already see how their brain is primed to react. Like going through the motions on a telephone with customer service and just hanging up as soon as you get what you needed and not letting them finish. LOL. Ooh, I really like that simile, like that way of putting it there. So we'll get more into that with the other character introduced in this chapter, because right where we're talking about like Sarah reading minds and shit like that, we introduce Gary Polk, who can actually read minds. He's like an actual telepath, but he doesn't have any of the cool electric powers. So yeah, they're like a kind of interesting pair right here, where they have like a aversion, attraction, compulsion type circuit happening that I find like really interesting right here. Just yeah, I do not have a romantic subplot for any of my fucking characters outside of a really, really, really creepy one with Michael Maybe. So just yeah, I don't. And that one is so fucking creepy, and I'm gonna jack up the creepiness. All right, so it's far too complicated for a high school dropout. Uh, yeah. Oh, you know what? We'll yeah, dropout can be one word. Figuring this out is a lot to ask from a high school dropout, but she has no choice. Every morning, Sarah wakes up deeper in the spectrum. I like that. She sees smaller charges. Yet we smaller and smaller. She sees smaller charges with more contrast between them. It's jacking up the rent in her brain. Ordinary vision has been priced out of the hippest areas of her perception. Love it. We don't need push to the outskirts. A high school is not dropping it. High school dropout. Oh, it makes it feel like the whole thing should be let's see. Language tutorials by BC Kumar. Also without a hyphen. High school dropout. All right. So I see. Yeah, I think no hyphens. That's a point for logic. Yeah, climbing up there, man. Catching up with big Spathywah. I wonder what Spathywah's been up to. He hasn't been on the chat much recently. Hopefully not a bender to end all benders, which I've been on for the past few days. Not like a bender, but definitely like Yeah, like I'm looking pretty hazy in the mornings for a little bit there. And I stayed up last night till like 2 in the morning watching UFC, but it was worth it. It was a good UFC. Yeah, I'm not gonna spoil anything for anybody, but like every fight on that card was good, which is yeah, and I like that they're doing UFC. By the way, like Dana White may be a weird looking tomato of a dude, but I'm glad that somebody's out there putting on, and it was so surreal to have like no audience. All the places where you're used to having the audience filling in sound, it's just not fucking there, which is amazing. And then you could hear the impact sounds of the fighters hitting each other in ways that you couldn't previously. And they have great microphones in there, like the boom mics and shit hovering over there are fantastic. So yeah, you could just hear the impact of the fighting, and it was surreal and kind of wonderful in a way. And I'm glad to see old Joe Rogan out there fucking announcing these fights, and that everybody like kind of put themselves at risk and went out there. Hell yeah. They're all going to get that Rona. But yeah, other fights are getting canceled because fighters are getting popped for coronavirus instead of steroids. What a world we live in. All right. Oh, there we go. That's Popo. No, actually, that's an ambulance. Oh, shit. So Logic used to go to fights here and there because there's a few different leagues in Hawaii. I never got a chance to go to the luchador fighting in New York, and now that we might never have it again, I should get another mask made. Fuck it, mask off. Yeah, I think I'm gonna get a luchador mask made with and just wear that all day every day instead of one of those fucking face masks. I gotta get one that's like cooler. Um, but yeah, maybe made out of fucking lycra or something. Huh. Well, I'm liking this idea, like screen printed lycra. Yeah, I could fucking rock the Spider-Man all day. Every morning, Sarah wakes up deeper in the spectrum. She sees smaller charges with more contrast between them. It's jacking up the rent in her brain. Ordinary vision has been priced out of the hippest areas of her perception. Visible light has become a film of oil on the surface of a lake, and the charge is the deep part. Every day she can peer a little further down. Really, really like that description right there. And when we write these characters and we talk about the powers that they have, one of my notes for this rewrite was I want to linger a bit on how cool some of this stuff is to the characters. I want people to sit there and be like, wow, what would it be like to do that? And just have like a few moments to reflect on, like, this is really fucking neat. We'll have a few other places in the story where Sarah is just like, oh, I can do this thing. That's really cool. That's one of the really fun parts of superhero fiction is them being able to transcend some of the ordinary limitations that tie us down. And that's why superhero stories are so appealing to children who are like maybe like 7 years old to like 18 years old, right around in that range. Because all those kids have are limitations. Like, no, you have to go to school every day. I don't care if you don't want to. It's like, no, you can't get a dog just because you want one. No, you can't eat that. It's not time. Yeah, you have to go to sleep at this time. You have to shit in the toilet and not anywhere else, ever. Like all these kind of things. So, say children and nerds, and so a lot of it is, they're them being limited by like I'm not attractive enough to get women, but women would potentially like me if I was just like waltzing into a bank robbery and beating the shit out of everybody, and like look at all this value I bring to society. So it's a really interesting concept of it. Unfortunately, I wrote this book when superhero stories were starting to blow the fuck up. They were like hot, and they were all, like fucking Iron Man came out, and everybody's like, whoa, let's hop on this. And thankfully, most of that wave is like fucking over. Like people are done with the Avengers and stuff like that. They've remade Spider-Man so many times. So hopefully the time is ripe for something that kind of like twists that narrative a little bit and like gets into like a much darker and much more wild examination of what superheroes are all about. How much longer can this go on? Sarah wonders how much longer this can go on. What's your superpower? I bring value at all times. Yeah. So many fantasies as like a young man of displaying worth to others. Because, you know, like when you're a kid, you're a taker. You don't do anything useful for anyone, and you're acutely aware that you're a drain on everybody else. Like you're not a productive member of society. The content that you produce as a child, for the most part, is not content that anybody wants to see. You know, it's just you like scrambling for recognition that you don't deserve, and like sort of puffing yourself up in all these ways, like telling others like, "Oh, I'm this thing and I'm that thing," and you haven't like learned that people who are things really very very seldom. I'll tell you like one thing that like anytime that somebody tells me, "Oh yeah, I'm an artist," right? Immediately in my mind, I'm like, okay, so you are not an artist, right? But somebody who tells me, it's like, oh yeah, I make pottery, or yeah, like yeah, I'm into sculpture or something like that. You like, huh? I wonder what this person's all about, right there. It's just something weird um, about, and this is not like a rule or anything like that. But people who actually like make things are much more concerned with talking about the process and like the things that they do. And people who wish that they had the status of being a maker of those things, but don't actually put out a lot, tend to focus more on the title, like artist or writer or sadomasochist, and probably not that one. But yeah, like, it's like a something I think about there. Does this line even need to be in here? Where does it all end? Where does it all end? Someday she might be the burned out husk bobbling her head on 8th Avenue. That's a much better lead into that paragraph right there. So Logic says that's why I really liked the Netflix Marvel series. It was pretty dark. I don't know. I tried watching fucking Daredevil. Was just like flat out not good, right? I didn't like it at all. Punisher was like almost there, but there was a lot of like, why am I still watching this? I think they did. I gotta tell you, like Punisher is not great. Like the comic books weren't great writing. You know, they were interesting, and there's like plenty of violence and shit like that. But it's still on his face like pretty hokey and stupid. You know. So those two, I took a gander at. I didn't watch Luke Cage, so I don't know much about the other Marvel Netflix shit. But yeah, there was nothing that really like gripped me there. But I don't watch a lot of television. Like I think I've been rewatching The Sopranos recently, but just because it was free on HBO Go. The Luke Cage one in the series or episodes where they were all doing stuff together. That could be interesting. I mean, like just in terms of like the structure or like that multi-person, multi-whatever writing thing is really cool. That they're like bringing shit together and having crossovers and stuff like that. God, what a challenge to get like so many people writing together and have them like crossing stuff over, but at the same time, what a clusterfuck. That's why every like modern comic book franchise from the outside looking in is like, what a clusterfuck this is. And it's such varied writing quality, and some of the ideas are just dumb on their face, and you have to like have an idea or a concept that doesn't appeal to you at all right next to one where it's like what you actually want to read in terms of comic books. Ugh. That's why they just reboot this shit over and over and over again. Things just get so complicated. They're like, fuck it. Fuck it. Someday she might be the burned out husk bobbling her head on 8th Avenue. If the charge weren't so beautiful, she'd have lost it already. She has to actively focus to perceive visual light now. Yeah, this is not good. Let's... The people moving around her now have become glowing, swirling The pedestrians walking past her are swirling galaxies of sparks drifting along the sidewalk, pulling themselves forward with bolts of slow leapfrog lightning in their nerves. And this is kind of like a neat note right here, just because that like bioelectricity, like traveling through your nerves and so forth, is slower than regular electricity. Slower just because there are like all these sort of stops along the way. It's not. I'm really worried that somebody's going to come through here and be like, actually, like what's happening, the like chemical reactions happening in your nerve, they're not exactly electricity per se, and yeah, like, electrochemical, yeah. But this character can perceive that. I'll just fucking hand wave it away. If the charge weren't so beautiful, she'd have lost it already. The pedestrians walking past her are swirling galaxies of sparks drifting along the sidewalk, pulling them slow leapfrog lightning. Unless I got slow right there. With bolts of leapfrog lightning. She can see the currents singing in the walls, whirling in transmitter and transformers, whirling in motors. The whole city is thrumming with it. It captivates her. Sarah can still see uncharged objects like mailboxes and walls, but they mean less, and she's forever spacing out and colliding with them. Cool. So the area that we cut earlier was great because we cover it later. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's much better. Cool. That's a good omission. Point for logic. The pedestrians walking past are swirling galaxies of sparks drifting along the sidewalk, pulling themselves forward with bolts of leapfrog lightning. Uh, let's call them nervous bolts. With nervous bolts of leapfrog lightning. Perfect. I like that we can use nervous to describe nerves there. Oh, that's an editor will take that out. It captivates her. Sarah can still see uncharged objects like mailboxes and walls, but they mean less, and she's forever spacing out and colliding with them. A blob of glittering nerves is stopped right in front of her, jaw agape. Sarah steps around the gawker. No patience for this idiot tourist. No patience for this. So here, we called the hobo like an idiot, and like we're using it in the sense of like the Dostoevskian idiot, rather than just like a regular dumb person. It's a strange nerve. It's a strange loop. Yeah, it's weird. Sarah steps around the gawker. No patience for this moron tourist. But there's something weird going on in his skull. Something she's never seen before. So what do I want here? Yeah. Yeah, so this is a clunky sentence. But she sees something happening in his skull she's never seen before. The man's brain is reacting to waves that radiate from other people's heads. Uh, At first, she thinks Like noticing gravity as a discrete force for the first time in Newton's apocryphal apple story. Yeah, yeah, this is um, yeah, we're not oh yeah. Let's see. Oh yeah, that's a good edit right there. I think we're gonna chop up that whole paragraph a little bit, but as she stops to focus on the aberration, she begins to see what's happening. I want to shoehorn in that she might not have ever noticed them at all. The waves are like echoes, after images propagating after every thought. The man is waving his arms at Sarah. He's lit up with excitement. Okay. So this is a. Uh, ugh, this chapter is so much like the mechanics of her electrovision and his telepathy. I'm worried that we're gonna bore readers with this. Fortunately, it's pretty short, but it's just like a lot of real complicated. Just assault my. Oh yeah. Well, we would have gotten that eventually, but let's put you up at 30. 30, closing in, man. Just 28 behind. You're more than half of his edit quota. So, at first, Sarah thinks she stumbled onto another madman. The stranger's brain is reacting to stimuli she can't see. But as she stops to focus on the aberration, she begins to see what's happening. Oh yeah, that's a bad sentence. Uh, the stranger's brain is reacting to stimuli she can't see. She's on the verge of walking past when she starts to see something new. There are very faint waves radiating from people's heads, so slight she's never noticed them before. This man can sense them. She can watch his brain glowing with effort as he processes them. So to logic, which is really, really good to hear. It's not boring, and he likes the visceral description of the power. I'm really happy to hear that because like that's one of the things that I really wanted to like dive deep on here. I want to get like uh, down in the shit, like get deep into like what's this really all about. And anytime that you spend a lot of time on details and so forth, you worry that you're losing people for the most part. But there are some authors like Palahniuk, how the fuck do you say that guy's name? But Fight Club dude, where he really is not afraid to get into some like very visceral and uncomfortable details in his narratives, and he sells a lot of books, man. Not trying to compare the two of us or whatever, but just like a lot of his books that I've read, I've been like, damn, he's biting into the gristle of what's happening. And I think it's something that his audience really enjoys. So hopefully like a chapter focusing on how like the telepathy in this book works is worthwhile, because we're going to spend a lot of time dealing with these two characters and their weird powers as we go through here. In fact, like Gary, in like the pantheon of characters, we'll spend almost as much time on Gary as we'll spend on Sarah or maybe or Lemon. Really, there are, I've never made my way through Shannara, and I probably should, to tell you the truth. I just read through the Dungeon Master's Guide in preparation for like this RPG stream that I want to do. And they have this whole, at the end of it, which was really cool. I hadn't noticed it. Maybe they had it in previous Dungeon Master's Guides, but there is a suggested reading list on there. And I thought that was like, and some of the books that are on there, like the Farfed and the Grey Mouser series, are just spectacular. Like I love the Grey Mouser. Fritz Lieber's stuff is fucking amazing. Oh, I want to spend more time reading if I can. Like less time video gaming, more time on my couch reading. Should be my resolution for today. Okay, some really good cuts there. This man can sense them. Sarah watches his brain smoldering with effort as he processes the waves. Sarah watches his brain smoldering with effort as he processes them. The waves are like echoes, after images propagating after every thought. No, going Nova. Let's try. Ooh, we used incandescent earlier. Effulgent. What the word? Cliquan. I've never. Yeah. I like luminous there. He's luminous with excitement. And begins to wave his arms. Ah! So here too, I think it's clear to the reader what's happening, right? But Sarah's still trying to figure it out. Sarah is like a step behind where the reader is probably like jumped to this obvious conclusion right here, and it's okay for her to be a little bit slower than the reader because when she puzzles it out, readers who haven't caught on to like what's happening will be like, oh, okay, yeah. So Tyrone Clicquant Jefferson. That's a good name. It could be a president one day. Hold on, I want to look at exactly what Clicquant is. Clicquant. Like a quanta? What the fuck is... Oh, come on, fucking thesaurus.com. Glittering gold. Clicquant. Clinkant. Clinkant. I've never fucking seen Clinkant before in my life. Clinkant. Hold on, let's see.
Clinkant.
Clinkant. Imitation gold leaf, tinsel, or false glitter. Yeah, I've never seen this in my life.
Clinkant.
Clinkant.
Clinkant. Clinkant.
All right, speak and spell. Oh yeah, definitely from French. Oh, if we can, let's just pop on to Wiktionary. It's like a quanta from to clinker, Dutch klinken of imitative origin. Huh. So Dutch metal, tinsel or glitter. So it's about things that clink but are also shiny. It's a neat word. I don't know that I'll ever have like a clinkant horde, a dragon's horde, clinkant and oh, you know what I like visualizing like a clinkant wave of treasure skittering down the dragon's horde. You know what I'm talking about? Hell yeah, that's a gangster word. I love how much bullshit, how much like unnecessary repetition and like different nuance we have in English. You just can't think of a use for that word. Oh, I just don't. It's like far enough out there. I don't know if I'll ever get to use it in a story, but I like it. Yeah. As Sarah struggles to understand what the man is doing, as Sarah struggles to understand what the stranger is doing, he glows luminous with excitement and begins to wave his arms. You can see them, he shouts, and her mouth opens in shock. So what we want with that? I don't want her jaw drops. We need like a word in English for your mouth making that. And some writers have written her mouth makes an O, right? And I can't. Sarah's mouth opens in shock, terrified she's been found out. She's about to run for it when the man goes perfectly still. Oh yeah. Like throughout this narrative, like she's very, very afraid of. And you'll find we're gonna cover that I think in chapter 13 a little bit. How all the characters are a little bit afraid that people will find out and that the government will fucking experiment on them or they'll be burned as witches or some. Okay, extra period. Sarah's mouth opens in shock, terrified she's been found out. She's about to run for it when the man goes perfectly still, holding up his palms like she's a deer about to bolt. Nah, that's not good. When the man holds up his palms, trying to look unthreatening. I don't know. He's about to run for it when he holds. She's about to run for it when the man... She's about to run for it. The man holds up his palms, trying to show he's no threat. That's better. That's an improvement. All right, cool. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay, the man stammers. He stammers 3 times in short succession from overexcitement. Sarah blinks her eyes, trying to force herself to see the man as more than just a floating nervous system. In a visible spectrum, he's shorter. Oh, I like this. The visible spectrum isn't kind to him. He's short, heavy-set, with an unkempt beard and curly black hair that have been... Oh, yeah. Hyphen for overexcitement. I think it can be a compound word. Let's take a look. Yeah, we're okay. Yeah, it doesn't have to be hyphenated. I like that. The visible spectrum isn't kind to him. He's got bad skin, an unkempt beard, and thinning hair. He's wearing a suit, but he looks uncomfortable in it, like he just bombed a job interview. Everything about him screams computer programmer, except for his eyes. They're tired, knowing. Sarah dislikes the man. Sarah dislikes him immediately. A plastic bag of groceries is dangling from one of his hands. Oh no, that doesn't fucking work at all. Because he's like waving his arms around and shit. That's gotta go. Oh, you know what I want to do? At his feet is a plastic grocery bag bleeding milk. He dropped it when he spotted her. Milk bleeds from a plastic grocery bag at his feet. He dropped it when he spotted Sarah. I like that little note right there, where it like hammers in a little bit more how struck he was with Sarah. He just whoop, I dropped that. Also, the fact that this guy buys fancy milk in glass bottles. There is a, I think Brookline is the one that sells that here in New York. You can buy like chocolate milk. But that's like it's like, I don't know if that fucking creamery was around back in 2004. But, you know, we'll just assume that a fucking plastic carton broke open there. There's a gold watch on his wrist. She sees the battery humming out its tiny little current. Humming out its tiny current. Yeah, we don't need tiny little. There's a gold watch on his wrist. She sees the battery humming. There's a gold watch on his wrist. Her eyes are drawn to the current humming from its tiny battery. She doesn't know watches, but it looks expensive. It's a Rolex. I'm Gary Polk. I read minds, he says, matter-of-factly. His voice is nasal and superior. He senses her distaste and gives her a little whoops shrug. Oh, yeah. Whoops. No, let's just cut that. Yes, everything. Yes, everything. That too. He's answering her questions as the thoughts are forming. Sarah finds it both annoying and frightening. Garrett. And he stops himself from doing it with visible effort. Sarah's still not sure this isn't some elaborate trick. Sorry, for a second I thought you could do it too. I can't quite understand what's going on in your head. I'm sorry. I thought you could do it too. I can't quite understand what you're seeing. What is that? Electricity, Sarah says. She's afraid to explain, but then she starts to think if he can actually read minds, he'll hear it anyway. Either or change to make the strong. Let's take a look. There's a gold watch on his wrist. Sarah's eyes are drawn to the current humming from its tiny battery. Oh, no, I don't like that. There's a gold watch on his wrist. Her eyes are drawn to the current humming from the, yeah. She doesn't know watches, but it looks expensive. So what's really interesting here is we get into it in a second here, but that like initial sizing you up moment that everybody has, you know, that like you never get a second chance to make a first impression. Hey, kiddo. But the like totally uncompromising initial judgment that everybody makes when they see you, he's aware of. He feels that every single time somebody looks at him. And it is just like him getting flogged over and over again by the perceptions of each person that he comes across every single day. Every single person that looks at him is kind of like, ugh. Love that about this character. It's super fun. So I like, there's a gold watch on it. Milk bleeds from a plastic grocery bag at his feet. He dropped it when he spotted Sarah. It slipped from his hand when he spotted Sarah. There's a gold watch on his wrist. Her eyes are drawn. There's a gold watch on his wrist, and her eyes are drawn to the current humming from its tiny battery. She doesn't know watches, but it looks expensive. That's better. All right, so I'm going to give you a point there, because I think that that was worth clearing up. 31. Yeah, like, again, what and a little of this is based off of the work that we just did with this recent editor, almost everywhere where I had put a semicolon in fucking, what should you call it? Everywhere that we put a semicolon. In fact, maybe not one semicolon made it out of there intact. He's just like two sentences. He just did not want to deal with that semicolon bullshit at all. And in general, he could get away with that because he was like stripping out so much of the passive language in that. I'm gonna try and use, if he's up for it, and his price is reasonable, I might use the same editor for Lemon Maybe. I just like floated the question to him because I really think he did spectacular work on it. I don't know that he's as suited for this particular style of piece, and I'm gonna need him to do a sample chapter from somewhere in there, just because this is not like a this happens type science fiction thing. Really like we're shading much more into. It's got kind of like a more, like this happened, and it's like survival mode and space stars are told in like this almost like breathless. This happened. It's like a guy, like a soldier giving you a report of what's happening, and there's a little urgency, and like they're on a battlefield and you need to know right away. So this happens. Even though there is like a fair bit of flashback in both of them and like character building. In this story, you want all Lemon Maybe and the Electric Lady to seem like a guy could be sitting across the bar from you, like a bartender, and it's late at night and there's like 3 people in the bar, and he's like, all right, I'm gonna tell you guys this fucking story about something that happened to me one time back in 2004, and you're not gonna believe this bullshit, but this is how it all went down. That's what I want. So we have like a very let's see, a particular kind of edge case where a premise follows a conclusion to describe it poorly. I don't quite get what you mean, but I was kind of like blathering on there for a hot second there about my intent. It's a Rolex. I'm Gary Polk. I read minds. So this guy has got a little bit of Harold Lauder going on if you read this stand. But he is much more of a redeemable character than Harold Lauder, and like he has more of an excuse than Harold Lauder. You'll see why. I don't like the little shrug. He senses Sarah's distaste. Yes, everything. That too. The more conversational, less descriptive or reporting. Yeah. Like so. I have like a really good idea of how I want this all to flow and so forth. And it's because I've been working on it for like 6 years. But yeah, like I goals for this book are I want it to feel like you are in that dive bar in Hell's Kitchen, and there's a thunderstorm going on outside, and everybody's like looking out like, I don't really want to go home at the moment. This guy's like, all right, let me tell you a story. Just buy another couple of rounds, and I'll fill you in on this, right? Ugh. He's answering Sarah's questions as the thoughts are forming, and she finds it both annoying and frightening. With visible effort, he checks himself. Sarah's still not sure this isn't some elaborate trick. I'm sorry, I thought you could do it too. I can't quite understand what you're seeing. What is that? Electricity, Sarah says. She's afraid to explain. She's afraid to explain, but she realizes if he can actually read minds, you hear it anyway. Then she's afraid she'll think of something she shouldn't. Then her mind turns to shit, the nagging need to find a bathroom. The image is vivid, and the harder she fights not to think about it, the worse it gets. Her face is suddenly burning with embarrassment. But Gary only smiles. It's a forced smile, like he's about to kiss her baby and ask her to vote for him. I like that that description. Whew. Sarah, think everyone does that, Gary says. I've heard it all. Don't worry. It's just how minds work. Just don't think about an elephant, whatever you do. Sarah thinks about the elephant. I've done this before on other Don't Think About an Elephant. And it is, again, we're ripping off The Stand right here. The point where Tom Cullen is hypnotized, and the trigger for his hypnosis is like go see the elephant or something similar there. So shout outs to Big S. King, the Kang of weird horror writing. Huge influence on me and just about everybody else from several generations of writers. God damn. I'm selling them books, man. Sarah thinks about the elephant. For a moment, she's relieved to get her mind on a different track. But fear... But fear is closing in. Gary knows what she thinks, and he can change what she thinks. Gary knows what Sarah thinks. And he can change what she thinks. He's playing her like an instrument. In about half a second, she's going to turn around and run away screaming with her hands over her ears. Hey, please don't. It doesn't have to be that way. I don't want... I don't want to use you. I just can't turn it off. Please. I haven't found anyone else like me. Hey, please don't. It doesn't have to be that way. I don't want to use you. I just can't turn this off. Please. Yeah. Please, he begs. I haven't found anyone else like me. Anyone different. You have no idea what it's like, what people are really like. That's not... There's a hurt look on his face, like people have run away from him a million times. There we go. Is he sincere or saying what I want to hear? Sarah wonders. Oh, you can't use skin crawl at all. Uh, Let me see there. Mixer, not mixer skin crawl, but seeing the thought registering in his brain makes her skin crawl. I don't want it. I don't want it. Yeah. Ugh. Makes her shoulders hunch. I like that. Let's see. Let's. So this sentence used to be sincere or what I want to hear. Uh, that's a good comment. Is he sincere or saying what I want to hear? Sarah wonders. Let's hop on Thesaurus right over here. Uh, uh, Discomfiture is kind of what we want, but chagrin, humiliation. Oh yeah, yeah. Watching him register her thought. Uh, she can see her thought registering in his brain. It makes her shoulders hunch with unease. Yeah, because this is so deeply fucking creepy. Like if we want to get into issues of like fucking consent and ooh, and ugh. It's fucking. I'm creeping myself out. Fucking thinking about this. Also, because I was like trying to like physically embody, like, what does this feel like? Like hunching up my own back, and now I'm feeling anxious as a consequence of doing this physical. Fucking, so weird. I'm alone. I'm alone. Gary confesses. She believes him now. She believes him. The pain in his voice is raw and immediate. The dance in his skull is a pattern of truth. For a long moment, they just stand there. For a long moment, they stand in place on the sidewalk as people step around them. I'm alone too. I'm Sarah. Gary extends a hand and she shies away from it, even though... Yeah, there we go. So Safari wants me to take a pause. All right, how many hours have we been doing this for? Let me stand up and move around. I'll be right back. Images on my TV screen, just static waves of apathy. I'm a broken piece of what I used to be. All right, well, we're not done. We're going to finish this chapter. And I'm so glad that we went back over this one. Like this chapter needed a bunch of work. And I will tell you right now, the next chapter that we kind of like glossed over, that's going to need more work too. But sometimes that's how you got to do it. You know, sometimes you can't paint a wall with one coat. I'm not gonna go into the grotesque sexual metaphor that just appeared to me right there. Okay. Gary extends a hand and Sarah flinches. She's wearing her insulated rubber linesman's gloves. But last night is still burned into her. That's what I want to say. Unwillingly she relives, but that's the memory intrudes. Lemon crashing against a cocktail shelf. A rain of glassware, promising to pay him back with money she doesn't have. I'm sorry. Gary apologizes again. He's seen everything. He pulls his hand back and it makes her want to... He yanks his hand back abruptly, and it makes her want to run away worse than ever. Everything she's anxious about is closing in on her. Her job, the rent, Lemon's glasses. She can't take it. Out come the tears. Sarah's crying like a lunatic in front of this weird guy she's only just met. Oh, I can help you. With the money, at least, Gary says, suddenly relieved. Surprise, relief. Oh, no, that's not good. No, I can help you with the money. Oh, I can help you. I have money, Gary blurts. I can't, Sarah begins. She's thinking about the handprints on the ice machine. She's got nothing to give anyone. Love that ice machine. Oh my God. So, yeah, I mean, every once in a while I'll have like just some object that I can sort of use to signify things in a story. And I just love that one. And I know where, like, I've worked at so many different hotels, and ice machines are like a big factor there. And come to think of it, yeah, I've definitely, I'm thinking of one particular couple that I surprised while they were fucking leaned up against my ice machine. And they were totally naked too. And I did not like those people. They were always fucking assholes to me. And I just like go out to get ice. And he's just like railing her from behind while she's leaned against the ice machine. And I just stood there, like kind of fucking tapping my foot, like, are you fucking serious right there? And they got so embarrassed. And at the time I was young too. I was like maybe like 20 years old or something like that. But I was already like such an asshole, and I knew they were like scrambling to put their clothes on, and I'm just like, like so disappointed in them. Uh, uh, and I was just doing it because I didn't like them. Anybody else, I would have been like, oh, I'm sorry. I wasn't sorry. I just stared them down. Those people were fucking assholes, by the way. I'm from Alabama. That's usually a bad sign. I don't need anything in return. Money's nothing to me, Gary assures her. Sarah thinks it's bullshit, but Gary shakes his head. Watch. He reaches into his coat pocket and pulls out a deck of playing cards. Dumbstruck. This is okay. Gary reaches into his coat pocket and pulls out a deck of playing cards. Unmans them. Gary reaches into his coat pocket and pulls out a deck of playing cards. At first, Sarah thinks the box must be stuffed with money, but no, they're just cards. Gary tucks the deck into his palm and smoothly pockets the box. Her eyes follow his hand and he points it at the fistful. He does a neat triple cut with his left hand and fans out the deck, flipping it to show her. Hmm. Then he squeezes the fan back into his stack and fires the cards from his left to right hand in a perfect spring flourish. He does another triple cut with his right hand. Every motion is perfect. Gary could be a magician. It may surprise you to learn, Gary begins, sweeping his thumb and forefinger across the stack of cards and drawing out 4 of them, that I'm the greatest poker player that's ever lived. Gary holds up 4 aces. For the first time today, Sarah smiles. Hell yeah. All right. So that is a really good job on chapter 11. Much, much fucking better. Much better. I'm so glad that I trusted my gut feeling that I had done a shitty job. I'm going to try and listen to that more. And we want to keep 10 pages a day, and now we're behind, right? Because like I think this is about the end of dog baseball for us right here. But which is like a weird permutation. But yeah, it's I really enjoy both of those characters. I like how fucked up Gary is, and I like how fucked up in her own way Sarah is, and I like just the amount of loathing that those characters have for themselves. Ooh, and it's just it's like a neat choice that the two of them are kind of set up a little bit as foils for each other in this story, and you're gonna watch it all go down. But what do we got there? What's our time logic on this one? So we got through. We could just go back up to the first edit of chapter 11 and see how many words we edited here. Yeah. No, fucking pages. What are you doing here? So 1886 is a good year. So we got through 1886 words, and what I want to say is 2 hours and 20 minutes is my guess. Or maybe 2 hours and 15 minutes. This chapter needs a lot of work. Do you see what I see? Because it's got like a lot of remnants. All right, so day 15. $18.86 and then 220. Cool. So good to go back on that chapter. I'm happy with that decision. Logic, thank you so much for your help today. Really catching up with young Spathiwa right there. I wonder what the fuck he's up to. I'm gonna make sure he's okay because he does love these streams. But I've been erratic in the last week. I think in the coming week I'm gonna try to just be more on point. You know, like I'd like to do this at the same time every morning. And I think 6 o'clock is the good timing for me to get like a solid 3 hours every morning before work. All right. Let's put an end to this shit.